WWE Money in the Bank has been a staple match stipulation in the history of WWE, and it's actually my favorite. Close second is the Royal Rumble, but there is something about Money in the Bank cash-ins, whether successful or not, that is something that has been in my heart since I was a child. The very first one happened in 2005 when I was in the 6th grade. So this is a special video for me, and since it's tomorrow night, I'm going to run down my 5 favorite, and in my mind, 5 best Money in the Bank cash-ins in WWE history on Screw the Script. Welcome back, everybody, to Screw the Script. Thanks for joining me today on this fun video. Like I said, Money in the Bank is tomorrow night for WWE. So without further ado, I'm going to get right into it. Like, comment, and subscribe if you like this kind of video. I've been thinking about doing videos like this more than just what I've been sticking to, which has just been reviews and recaps of shows and pay-per-views and PLEs. I wanted to do something fun today. So I'll get into it. I have actually 2 honorable mentions, so I'm going to start with the first one. Raw of 2010, we saw The Miz successfully cash in on Randy Orton. It's an honorable mention. It just missed the top 5 for me, mainly because of this. The cash-in was good. The title run, not the best. And the reason why this is an honorable mention for me and not an actual top 5 on my list is because, in my mind at least, the most memorable part about this cash-in was what spawned one of the greatest wrestling memes in history, the Angry Girl, if anybody remembers that. This was way back in 2010 as well. So she's an adult now, probably. I mean, she looked to be about, 8 to 10 years old there. She's in her 20s now. Can't believe that happened that long ago, but the fact that I still remember that reaction 15 years later, and the fact that it turned into, like I said, one of the most memeable photos in pro wrestling, one of the original memes of pro wrestling, because memes started right around that time in 2010. So that is my first honorable mention. The second one will have to be RVD cashing in on John Cena at ECW's One Night Stand. An interesting element that happened in the match was the fact that Edge got involved and speared John Cena for RVD to eventually get the pin. And again, much like the other honorable mention, the actual win was much better than what happened with the individual's career afterwards and the title run and such. Because again, this happened on ECW One Night Stand. Didn't last for long when ECW came back in 2009 and 10, and I think it lasted like 4 or 5 years or something like that before it eventually got dropped by Sci-Fi. Nonetheless, it was awesome. I'll never forget when they needed a ref after the spear, and everyone was like, well, shit, who's going to be the ref? In comes Paul Heyman running down to the ring, and that 1, 2, 3, that ECW crowd went electric. This one was hard not to put in my top 5, but again, I had to step back and think, hold on, like, I don't want to just rank them in terms of like how much I loved it, but also throw in a factor of how it impacted that individual's career going forward after the win. So that is the second honorable mention. And now let's get on to my top 5. Number 5 didn't happen too long ago, but it was when Bobby Lashley was defeated by Big E on Raw. This was number 5 for me for one of 2 things. One, Big E, this was, I believe, the only time he ever won a title, a heavyweight title, in WWE before his unfortunate neck injury that ended his career. And I want to say, just in memory at least, it was probably one of the best crowd pops on Raw for a cash-in in a long time. Everybody loved this. He took down a very dominant Bobby Lashley. Yes, he didn't hold on to the title for very long, but it did finally, after so many years of being either on the side of Ziggler back in this day, or just part of the New Day and only winning tag titles. Finally, he deserved it. He won a world title. And before his career ultimately ended with that neck injury, it finally, propelled him, made him look like more of a force in the New Day. So that is my number 5 spot. Number 4 spot, I just mentioned him, was Dolph Ziggler cashing in on Alberto Del Rio on an episode of Raw. Similar to Big E, I believe this was the first time that Ziggler won championship gold, heavyweight championship gold, and I believe he only ever held it twice in his long career that he had with WWE. Just a quick side note, Dolph Ziggler and one other guy who is now in AEW, and that is Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin and Dolph Ziggler, I think in my mind, are the two biggest wasted talents in WWE history. Dolph Ziggler, the fact that he only ever won, heavyweight or WWE gold twice, if I'm not mistaken, and he had been with WWE for 15 or so years? Probably more than that if you count the times that he was in the freaking Spirit Squad way back when. And same thing goes for Shelton, but he's even worse. Shelton Benjamin, if I'm not mistaken, has never won heavyweight or WWE championship gold. I believe he won the IC and the US title a handful of times, and I believe he won the tag title with Charlie Haas was his name when they were with Kurt Angle 20 years ago or something like that. Shelton Benjamin deserved way more. I'm glad that he's being used properly at his current age in AEW. I just wanted to make that a quick note. But anyways, going back to this, Dolph Ziggler cashing in on Alberto Del Rio, who I think at the time was one of the most hated champs. No one really liked Alberto Del Rio when he was in WWE. At least I didn't care for him. He just felt like a cheap knockoff of JBL's character, only Hispanic. That's really all he felt like. Like, let's take JBL's character, let's, just make a Hispanic version of him. We'll call him Alberto Del Rio. So, Ziggler winning, that's my number 4. The number 3 spot was if I'm not mistaken, the first person to win the Money in the Bank twice. And that was CM Punk. Specifically on a 2008 episode of Raw, CM Punk successfully cashed in the title on Edge. This was a huge win for CM Punk, as it was early on in his career, shortly after he transferred over, I believe, from ECW, if I'm not mistaken. He transferred over and very quickly became a star in WWE on Raw. I believe the same year that he transferred over, he won that year's respective Money in the Bank ladder match, and then he went on to cash in on Edge. He's an all-timer, Edge. So the fact that he wins his Money in the Bank ladder match and then cashes in the title on Edge of all people, who, like I said, one of the greatest to ever do it in WWE and is still going over in AEW. This was a great win. It really skyrocketed CM Punk's career, although it was short-lived early on anyways, the first time in WWE, as this was 2008. He did win it a second time, but it wasn't as impactful as this one, so that's why I included this very first one of his in 2008. I think just the fact that it was over Edge, he just joined the main roster, and bam, his career propelled like that. And, was it 6 or 7 years later, he unfortunately left WWE for a long time before coming back only a couple of years ago. But that is my number 3 spot, CM Punk winning on the 2008 episode of Raw against Edge. My number 2 spot, I kept bouncing back and forth between 2 and 1, and it's a toss-up for me, but I'm going to put this one at number 2. I may, after recording this, think, oh shoot, I should have put that at number 1. That's how close these two are. But the number 2 spot goes to the inaugural first ever winner in Edge, who won the 2005 Money in the Bank ladder match, and then at New Year's Revolution cashed in on John Cena in 2006 and won his first ever heavyweight title, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it was his first ever one. I think the reason why I put it at number 2 was this. It was kind of awkward. If anybody remembers it, I know it was 20 years ago now, or about 20 years ago. The way that it was formatted, since it was the very first one, if you were there to watch it like I was, you're a little confused because Vince McMahon comes out and takes a mic and says, hey, like, we're going to have another match here tonight, even though that one just concluded. We're going to have the winner of the inaugural Money in the Bank ladder match, Edge, come out and cash in his opportunity and have a match against John Cena. And John Cena was just laying there in like a pool of his own blood, if I'm not mistaken, because he had just an absolute battle prior to this. So, yeah, a little bit awkward. I'm glad that they kind of went away from that early on in the history of Money in the Bank. We all know how it's done now, where people just run in at the end of a match. They hand their briefcase to the ref. The crowd's going nuts. That's the way to do it. I think that's the only reason why I put it at number 2, and it's not really fair to Edge, but it is still something that's in my memory about how it happened. Nonetheless, it's number 2 because Edge is Edge, one of the greatest to ever do it in WWE, and he won the very first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. Number 1 goes to Seth freaking Rollins. The reason why this is number 1 for me are 3 things. Third, most important, the fact that this was the only cash-in where the champion wasn't pinned to lose the title. It was against Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 31, and he ended up pinning Roman Reigns, and Lesnar was the champion at the time. And if I have my memory correct and the history correct, he's the only person to ever do that. I don't think it's happened prior or after this cash-in. So that's number 1 of 3 important reasons why this is number 1. The second big reason is the fact that it happened at WrestleMania. I mean, most cash-ins don't happen at WrestleMania. They typically happen on a Raw or a SmackDown or ECW One Night Stand for my honorable mention earlier. So the fact that it was in front of a huge WrestleMania crowd and the biggest pop that I've seen that I can remember for a cash-in happened in this cash-in. And then the third reason why I picked this as number 1, it's because it's Seth freaking Rollins. This, I think, what it did for Edge and what it did for CM Punk did even a greater scale for the Architect and Seth Rollins. I really think it helped him garner that nickname, that plus turning on the Shield back in, I believe, 2012, I think, is when he turned on the Shield. No, I think that's when they formed. It was a little bit later on than that. But anyways, he winning at WrestleMania, I believe the only person ever pinned the guy in a match that wasn't champ, because it basically became a triple threat when he cashed it in. And it really, really trajected his career even higher than I think it did for Punk and for Edge. I mean, look at all the accomplishments that Seth Rollins has won and has had since doing this. I think also Seth Rollins, in my opinion, is the greatest WWE wrestler of the PG era, which started in 2008. So from 2008 on, I don't think there has been another WWE wrestler that has joined WWE from 2008 on. So I'm not including Randy Orton. I'm not including John Cena, who are still wrestlers, because they started prior to 2008. I'm talking about a guy that came in during the PG era, which in my mind I think is the worst era of WWE. So the fact that he's able to win me over after so many years as in my opinion, the greatest wrestler of the PG era, that's why he deserves the number 1 spot. I can't think of anyone that can compete with them other than maybe Roman Reigns. That's about it. You let me know down below if you think somebody else is the greatest PG era wrestler, meaning they joined the company on the main card, I should say, after 2008. Because I believe Seth Rollins was down in like OVW or something prior to NXT when he joined in NXT, but I digress. That is my top 5, and now I want to get on to a couple of other fun things that I want to talk about for Money in the Bank. Who do you think is the king of cash-ins? You let me know down below. Is it Edge? Is it Miz? Or is it CM Punk. Those are the only three in WWE history who have won it twice. And if I am not mistaken, had successful cash-ins both times. So, who is it in your mind? Is it the first ever to do it and has won it twice, which is Edge? Is it CM Punk, who was the first person to do it twice? Or is it The Miz? You let me know down below who you think is the king of cash-ins, is what the nickname that I want to give one of those three guys. Lastly, a special thanks, kayfabe anyways, special thanks to Chris Jericho, as he was the one that invented the Money in the Bank ladder match. And oddly and funny enough, has never won a Money in the Bank ladder match, has never cashed in a Money in the Bank briefcase. Pretty funny considering he, kayfabe anyways, he's the one that invented it. You let me know down below if you think Chris Jericho should have at some point in his career at least won once. I surely think he should have. I mean, it would have fit his character very well. That's all I had on this episode of Screw the Script. You let me know down below what your favorite cash-ins are, or if you have a list of top fives, let me know down below. I'm curious what you think are your favorite cash-ins in WWE history for Money in the Bank. Tune into it on Saturday night for Money in the Bank. I really do wish that they would move it back to WrestleMania. I'm still looking forward to the event, although as of right now, there's only 4 matches, 2 Money in the Bank matches, and then 2 other matches scheduled for the PLE. I wish they would move it back to WrestleMania, especially now that you have a night 1 and a night 2. Just have the women's be night 1, have the men's be night 2, or vice versa. Bring it back to WrestleMania. I miss it at WrestleMania. This has been Maverick with Screw the Script. Thanks for watching.